Have you ever wondered why someone who eats pretty healthy can still end up with kidney damage sometimes? Without a single warning sign, I'm Dr. Johnny, and what I'm about to tell you might be the most important health message you hear this year. Because the truth is shocking, your kidneys are being attacked every single day by foods. You would never suspect foods so common that they're probably sitting in your kitchen right now. And the danger isn't loud or obvious. It's silent, creeping, and irreversible if you catch it too late, which is exactly why so many Americans only discover kidney disease when more than half of their kidney function is already gone. But here's the part most people never hear: this damage is preventable, and once you understand the hidden triggers behind it, you can stop the decline and even protect your kidneys for decades to come. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the top everyday foods silently destroying kidney function, explain the science behind the damage, and show you exactly what to do instead to protect your energy, clarity, and longevity. And as we uncover each hidden culprit, the picture becomes clearer, because what feels like just aging for many Americans is often the direct result of these foods quietly overwhelming the kidneys, meaning the sooner you recognize them, the faster you regain control of your health. The first hidden threat to your kidneys is high-sodium processed foods. Most people think the problem is salt, but the real danger is the sodium that comes from packaged soups, frozen meals, instant noodles, deli meats, and fast food foods loaded with sodium, but almost no potassium to balance it. That imbalance quietly forces your kidneys into stress mode long before you feel anything. I once treated a patient named Derek, a 58-year-old truck driver. He didn't use much table salt and thought he was eating reasonably well, but he relied on canned soups and microwave dinners during long shifts. When his blood pressure shot up and his creatinine followed, he was shocked because he never realized a single bowl of canned soup could contain over 1,000 millimoles of sodium with nearly zero potassium. Here's the science behind why this is so damaging. Your kidneys regulate fluid and blood pressure based on the sodium-potassium balance. When sodium floods in without potassium, your body holds on to water pressure, rises inside the microscopic kidney filters, and over time, this pressure creates microscarring, a slow, silent decline in kidney function. The good news is, you don't need to fear salt. You just need to avoid sodium that comes without nutrition. Choose fresh foods, season them yourself, and pair salt with potassium-rich vegetables so your kidneys stay supported. If you must use packaged foods, choose low-sodium labels, rinse canned vegetables, and stay hydrated so your kidneys aren't forced to filter thick, concentrated blood. But just understanding sodium isn't enough, because the next everyday ingredient most people add to their morning coffee doesn't just strain the kidneys, it can weaken the filtration membrane itself. And almost everyone uses it without knowing why it's so dangerous. And once you understand how sodium imbalance silently stresses your kidneys, the next everyday habit becomes even more alarming, because this time, the damage doesn't come from a meal, but from something millions of people pour into their coffee every single morning: coffee creamers. They look harmless, sweet, and convenient, but most commercial creamers aren't cream at all. They're a chemical mixture of artificial colors, emulsifiers, gums, and additives that can weaken the kidney's filtration membrane over time. I once met a woman named Linda who drank 2 cups of coffee a day each with a generous splash of flavored creamer. She didn't eat fast food, didn't smoke, didn't drink alcohol, yet her urine test showed early protein leakage, a sign that the kidney filter was becoming porous. When we removed her creamer for just 6 weeks, her labs improved, revealing what the chemicals had been doing quietly for years. Here's the science behind it. Many creamers contain titanium dioxide, an additive that disrupts cellular integrity and makes kidney membranes more permeable. Emulsifiers like polysorbate 60 and monodiglycerides can inflame kidney tissue, while artificial sweeteners inside the creamer are linked to mitochondrial stress in the filtration units. This combination doesn't just strain the kidneys, it actually erodes their structure. But there's a simple way to fix it. Switch to real dairy, unsweetened nut milks, or even a splash of half and half. Your kidneys can recognize those ingredients. What they cannot handle is the daily chemical cocktail disguised as a creamer, especially when consumed for years without a break. But only knowing this still isn't enough, because the next substance doesn't just weaken the kidneys, it can dehydrate them, crystallize inside them, and set the stage for some of the most painful kidney complications you can imagine. And once we understand how coffee creamers quietly weaken the filtration barrier, we need to talk about something even more common: alcohol. Most people think alcohol mainly affects the liver, but your kidneys pay the price long before the liver ever shows symptoms. Even moderate drinking forces the kidneys into dehydration, oxidative stress, and uric acid overload. I had a patient named Tom, 54 years old, who enjoyed just a few drinks on weekends. He wasn't a heavy drinker, and he didn't think alcohol mattered because he stayed active and ate relatively well. But his kidney scans told a different story. Tiny crystals were forming inside the filtration pathways, sharp uric acid crystals created as a byproduct of alcohol metabolism. Here's why this happens. Alcohol blocks the release of vasopressin, a hormone that helps the kidneys regulate hydration. Without it, your body dumps water rapidly, leaving the kidneys with thick, concentrated blood they must still filter. And while they're working overtime, the breakdown of alcohol produces uric acid, microscopic needle-like crystals that scrape and irritate renal tissue, increasing the risk of kidney stones and accelerating the rise of creatinine. But the good news is that awareness leads to control. Staying hydrated, spacing your drinks, choosing low fructose alcohols, and limiting mixers loaded with sugar can dramatically reduce kidney strain. And if you already have elevated creatinine, reducing alcohol even by 50% can make a noticeable difference in energy, sleep, and filtration capacity. But only knowing this still isn't enough, because the next healthy habit many people proudly follow can backfire dramatically. Its hidden oxalates can crystallize inside the kidneys even faster than uric acid. And the people who think they're doing the right thing are often the ones at highest risk. And if alcohol can dehydrate and crystallize inside the kidneys, the next item is even more surprising, because it's something many people consume proudly believing they're doing the healthiest thing possible: green smoothies. Spinach, beets, almonds. They sound clean and nourishing, yet they're some of the highest oxalate foods on the planet, and oxalates can form razor-sharp crystals inside your kidneys. I once worked with a patient named Emily who drank a spinach smoothie every morning. She felt energized, thought she was increasing her iron, and believed it was the perfect healthy start. But within months, she developed flank pain and abnormal urine readings, all traced back to high oxalate intake her kidneys couldn't handle. Here's the science that most people never hear. Oxalates bind with calcium to form microscopic crystals. And if your gut microbiome lacks oxalate-breaking bacteria, especially Oxalobacter formigenes, those crystals travel straight into the kidneys. Low stomach acid, dehydration, magnesium deficiency, or a leaky gut all increase oxalate absorption, making a harmless-looking smoothie surprisingly dangerous for someone with borderline kidney function. But the solution isn't to fear greens, it's to understand balance. You can rotate low oxalate vegetables like kale, romaine, zucchini, and bok choy. You can boil spinach to reduce oxalates by up to 70%, or add lemon juice for citrate, which prevents oxalate crystal formation. And if you love smoothies, dilute them, alternate ingredients, and hydrate well to support filtration. But even knowing this still isn't enough, because the next ingredient doesn't just crystallize or inflame. It directly disrupts the kidney's cellular machinery, damaging mitochondria and accelerating kidney decline faster than almost any modern additive we consume. And if oxalates can silently crystallize inside the kidneys, the next threat is even more unsettling, because it doesn't just irritate kidney tissue, it disrupts the kidneys at the cellular level. Artificial sweeteners like aspartame, sucralose, and acesulfame-K are everywhere in diet sodas. Sugar-free snacks, flavored waters, protein shakes, and even some medications. They're marketed as healthier choices, yet they can directly damage kidney cells in ways most people have never been told. One of my patients, Brian, switched from regular soda to diet soda, believing he was making a smart move for his blood sugar. But over 6 months, his kidney markers worsened faster than before, even though his glucose levels improved. When we removed sucralose from his daily routine, his kidney function stabilized, proof of how intensely these chemicals can affect renal tissue. Here's what science reveals: aspartame breaks down into formaldehyde and formic acid, substances toxic to cells. Sucralose has been shown to disrupt the renal tubules, reducing the kidney's ability to filter and reabsorb properly. And acesulfame-K accumulates in kidney tissue, where it increases oxidative stress and damages mitochondria, the tiny energy engines that keep kidney cells alive and functioning. This isn't just strain, it's structural decline. Fortunately, avoiding this problem is easier than most people think. Switch to natural sweeteners like stevia or monk fruit, or better yet, retrain your taste buds to enjoy lower sweetness levels. Your kidneys will respond quickly because removing artificial sweeteners often reduces inflammation and oxidative stress within weeks. But even understanding how artificial sweeteners affect the kidneys isn't enough, because the next item on this list doesn't just damage cells, it triggers inflammation, acidity, and scarring simultaneously, creating a perfect storm for kidney decline that millions of people consume every single day. And once you understand how artificial sweeteners can damage the kidneys at a cellular level, the next danger becomes even more alarming, because this time the damage comes from a food many people eat every single day without realizing how aggressive it is: processed meats. Sausages, bacon deli, slices, hot dogs. They're convenient, tasty, and everywhere. But inside the body, they behave like a chemical storm. I had a patient named Marcus who loved breakfast sandwiches. He wasn't overeating, he wasn't sedentary. He genuinely thought bacon and turkey slices were harmless as long as he stayed active. But his kidney inflammation markers told a different story. And when we examined his diet, the culprit was obvious: nitrates, nitrites, and phosphate additives packed into the meats he ate daily. Here's the science behind it. Processed meats contain preservatives that increase acid load, trigger inflammation, and accelerate the formation of scar tissue in the kidneys. Phosphate additives, often added for texture and color, are absorbed at nearly 100% compared to only 30–40% from natural foods, meaning the kidneys are hit with a concentrated dose they cannot effectively filter. Combine that with extra sodium and protein that the kidneys must metabolize, and the filtration units become overworked, inflamed, and eventually damaged. But there's a clear path forward. Switching to fresh cuts of chicken, turkey, or fish can dramatically reduce the chemical burden on your kidneys. Even reducing processed meat intake by half can lower inflammation, stabilize creatinine, and improve overall kidney resilience. Your kidneys recognize real food, they struggle with lab-made preservatives. But knowing this alone still isn't enough, because the next hidden threat doesn't just inflame the kidneys, it hardens them from the inside out. And it's found in foods most people consider perfectly normal. And if processed meats can inflame and scar the kidneys, the next danger goes even deeper, because industrial phosphates don't just irritate kidney tissue, they actually harden it from the inside out. These phosphates are found in processed cheese sodas, fast food frozen meals, and those easy-to-prepare products that seem harmless but deliver a concentrated dose your kidneys were never designed to handle. I worked with a patient named Helen, a 63-year-old grandmother who loved convenience foods because they saved her time. She didn't realize that her favorite frozen dinner and her daily cola were supplying almost double the recommended phosphate load. When her GFR dropped unexpectedly, industrial phosphates were the hidden culprit. Here's the science. Phosphates from natural foods like beans, nuts, and whole grains are only absorbed at about 30–40% because nature packs them in a complex structure. But phosphates added to processed foods are inorganic and absorbed at up to 90–100%, meaning your kidneys are suddenly hit with a surge they cannot buffer. These phosphates accumulate in soft tissues, including the kidneys, causing calcification, tiny hardening spots that reduce filtration speed and disrupt blood flow. This condition is known as renal osteodystrophy, a dangerous imbalance where bones weaken while the kidneys begin to harden internally. The solution is shockingly simple but powerful. Cut back on processed foods, sodas, especially dark colas, and packaged meals. Choose fresh ingredients, natural cheeses, and whole foods where minerals coexist with fiber and nutrients that slow absorption. Your kidneys thrive when minerals come from nature, not labs. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the next threat isn't a food, it's a medication many people take casually for pain relief, yet it can choke off blood flow to the kidneys so quickly that long-term damage becomes almost unavoidable. And as concerning as industrial phosphates are, the next threat is even more widespread, because it's not found in food at all, but in the medicine cabinet. NSAIDs like ibuprofen and naproxen are treated like harmless everyday pain relievers, yet they can restrict kidney blood flow so dramatically that long-term damage becomes almost inevitable. Millions of people take them casually without realizing they're blocking the very vessels that supply the kidneys with oxygen. I remember a patient named Laura, a 50-year-old office worker who dealt with frequent headaches. She wasn't taking anything extreme, just 2 ibuprofen tablets a day, sometimes 3 on stressful weeks. But over time, her kidneys began to struggle, and her GFR dropped faster than expected for her age. Once she stopped NSAIDs and switched to kidney-safe pain management, her decline slowed almost immediately. Here's what happens inside the body. NSAIDs block prostaglandins, chemical messengers that open blood vessels and keep kidney circulation flowing. When prostaglandins are suppressed, the tiny arteries leading into the kidneys constrict. Less blood in means less oxygen, and when kidneys are forced to filter normal levels of waste with reduced oxygen, tissue damage occurs. If this continues, the filtration units die off one by one, often without symptoms, until the loss becomes significant. But there are safer strategies. Acetaminophen in moderation, turmeric, magnesium, hydration, stretching, and addressing the root cause of pain can all reduce the need for NSAIDs. And if NSAIDs are medically necessary, they should be used sparingly and always with hydration to minimize the impact on kidney blood flow. But even understanding the dangers of NSAIDs isn't enough, because the next threat isn't hiding in a pill bottle. It's sitting right in the cooking oil aisle, and it damages kidneys through chemical byproducts that build up faster than most people realize. And if NSAIDs can choke the kidneys by cutting off blood flow, the next danger works in a completely different way. It damages the kidneys at a chemical level. Refined seed oils like soybean oil, canola, corn oil, and vegetable oil go through intense industrial processing that creates toxic compounds called aldehydes, and these aldehydes can directly injure kidney cells. Most people don't realize they're consuming these oils every single day because they're hidden in fast food, packaged snacks, salad dressings, and nearly every fried item on the menu. I once had a patient named Connor, a 47-year-old restaurant manager who rarely cooked at home. He ate out daily thinking grilled sandwiches and light salads were safe choices, yet his kidneys were inflamed and his creatinine kept creeping upward. When we traced his diet, the common thread wasn't sugar or alcohol. It was the constant exposure to oxidized seed oils used in the restaurants he trusted. Here's why these oils are so harmful. During processing, they're exposed to extreme heat pressure and chemical solvents. This transforms the fats into oxidized molecules that generate aldehydes, compounds shown in studies to damage the glomeruli, the tiny filters inside the kidneys. Aldehydes also scar the tubules, disrupt filtration membranes, and accelerate oxidative stress, creating long-term harm even in people who don't have symptoms yet. But there's a practical way forward. Switching to olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, or even butter dramatically reduces exposure to aldehydes. Choosing air-fried or baked options instead of deep-fried foods can also protect the kidneys from oxidative damage. And reducing packaged snacks and fast food makes an immediate difference in lowering inflammation markers. But knowing this still isn't enough, because the final item on this list is the most common, the most underestimated, and the fastest to raise creatinine, not because of salt or additives or fats, but because it creates microscopic crystals that scrape the kidneys from the inside out. And if seed oils quietly damage the kidneys through chemical oxidation, the final item on this list attacks in a completely different and far more painful way. Sugar and fructose don't just spike your blood sugar. They create sharp, needle-like crystals inside your kidneys that scrape, inflame, and scar the tissue over time. This is why sugar isn't just a metabolism problem, it's one of the fastest ways to push creatinine higher. I once treated a patient named Samuel who didn't think he had a sugar issue. He rarely ate desserts, didn't drink soda, and believed he was being careful. But he consumed flavored yogurt, bottled teas, packaged sauces, and healthy snack bars, each loaded with hidden fructose. Within a year, his uric acid levels surged, and his kidneys began struggling under the constant formation of microcrystals produced by fructose metabolism. Here's the science behind it. Fructose bypasses normal digestion and gets processed almost entirely in the liver. During this process, the body uses up ATP, the cell's energy currency, and the breakdown produces uric acid. Uric acid then forms microscopic crystals that irritate kidney tissue, trigger inflammation, and increase the risk of kidney stones. It's not the sweetness itself that harms the kidneys, it's the chemical chain reaction that follows. But there is hope. By reducing high fructose foods like sweetened beverages, syrups, agave packaged sauces, and sugary snacks, you can dramatically lower uric acid and relieve pressure on your kidneys. Choosing whole fruits, water-infused drinks, unsweetened beverages, and stable protein-rich meals can bring creatinine down more effectively than most people expect. But knowing all 10 of these triggers is only the beginning, because what you do with this knowledge next will determine whether your kidneys stay stable or continue down a path that many people only recognize when it's too late. And that's exactly why the conclusion of this video matters. If you've made it to this point, I want you to know something important. You're already ahead of millions of people who never learn what's silently damaging their kidneys. And that alone is a powerful step, because kidney decline isn't sudden, it's slow, and every smart choice you make today can protect your health for years to come. So here's my encouragement to you: start small. Swap one harmful food, drink a little more water, be mindful of labels. Your kidneys respond faster than you think, and even small changes can lower inflammation, stabilize creatinine, and give you back the energy you may have forgotten you lost. And if this video helped you understand your body better, do me one favor: save this video so you can come back to it anytime you need a reminder, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest kidney health updates, medical insights, and practical tools to protect your future. I make these videos because I genuinely care about your health, and I want you to have the knowledge most people never receive until it's too late. Remember this: your kidneys are resilient, and as long as you support them one choice, one habit, one day at a time, there is always hope. You have the power to turn things around, and I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Take care of your kidneys, and they will take care of you.